The biggest question that I get: how do I price my online or my digital products? So I'd like to share with you 4 kind of focus areas, and I try to break these things down into simple components because, Mark, if you don't, publishers, we tend to get overwhelmed with so many options. So I want to talk through pricing that is fair, firm, and focused. I want to talk about really knowing your market and your competition so you price things accordingly, and understanding the concept of selling things backwards. And then I'm going to show you a pricing grid because we really want to make it easy for our advertisers to buy these complex products from us.
What's the first thing that we should know about pricing?
Well, the first thing is nothing's free on the internet anymore. And it's a battle that I've been fighting with my publishing clients for quite some time, because there were years that we gave away banner ads sort of as a value-added proposition. And I want everyone to understand there is no such thing as a value-added proposition for $0. You always want to price something accordingly.
When you say that things have to be priced properly, you can't give stuff away for free. I would imagine it's also related to an investment that people are making into the future, right? If you're not generating any revenue online, how are you going to continue to grow online as online becomes more and more important?
Indeed.
Bearing in mind that it's not just the web, it's also mobile devices, right?
Yeah, indeed. And that's the essence of point 3, which is selling this backwards. And the reason that I entitled my book Selling Backwards is because you want to start with the advertiser. See, very often publishers, what they do is they just come up with a price that they think is fair. What I would actually encourage everyone watching this video is create an advertiser advisory board, a group of advertisers that you can ask questions to. Start with those advertisers. Rather than create products in a vacuum, go to an advertiser and say, what can I create that will help meet your marketing initiatives? And when you get their buy-in, because people are more passionate when asked to participate, okay, is really asking, what do you need? What do you want? If we could give you anything, what would it be? And then create products. So it's really is going at it from a different approach. And then once you figure that out, that's when you start working in pricing grids. I want to show you an example. And the reason I think it's a good example is it's colorful and it's visual. It's important to remember that 86% of people are visual learners. Because of that, we're asking them to buy something complex. Advertisers won't buy things they don't understand. So I'm trying to take, with this example, a multimedia, complex media buy and basically kind of make it almost childlike. So you'll notice in this particular example, someone might buy the platinum package, which would be a full-page ad in the magazine, but then they're also in the digital edition. They also receive social media. We're also going to do a video for them. We're going to include them in a newsletter. And altogether, what it does is it makes it easier for an advertiser to buy something complex from us. They won't buy what they don't understand, and they're never going to admit to us that they don't understand. And so that's why I really think that the pricing grids and presenting them this way makes it easier for an advertiser to buy from us.
Oftentimes it feels like you don't want to have too many choices. If you trust somebody to be able to deliver an audience to you, you want them to take care of it. And so I guess with this grid also that you presented, it's helpful to see that I'm getting a full page, I'm getting a half page, and then basically I guess I'm kind of making a decision in terms of pricing about how much exposure I want to have, right?
Exactly, because a reader is a reader is a reader. And that's so important for everybody to understand. A reader is a reader is a reader. So a print reader is not necessarily more valuable than an online reader. I've had scenarios, I know you have as well, where the online readership is actually greater than the magazine, and yet they charge pennies for the online reader. A reader is a reader is a reader. So where do we kind of start with that? It really kind of depends upon your niche. So let me give you an example. It used to be that if you had 10,000 doctors as readers, you would charge one particular price. And as an advertiser wanted you to narrow that list down, the smaller the list became, okay, the lower the price that you would charge. That's not the pricing model any longer. The greater the niche, the more targeted the list, the higher the price needs to become.
A couple of things come to mind there. So for example, one is the ability to maybe segment an audience, right? Both in the business to business as well as the consumer space. Can you give us 2 examples maybe of that?
Sure. Well, any email service provider, just as an example, that you're going to subscribe to will allow you to ask for various attributes. So as an example, if you're in a consumer market, say that you're a newspaper, rather than just asking for someone's name and email address, you might ask for the zip codes that you can segment it that way. Or you might ask them, what type of business they're in or something along those lines. Maybe if they have children or don't have children. And that allows you, as you sell these lists, to be able to segment them further.
Using modern ad servers like, for example, DFP Small Business,
sure,
you can target campaigns specifically to articles, let's say they're tagged with a topic, or that live in a certain section. So maybe in a consumer scenario, you might have a newspaper or a magazine where they might have a section within there called small business,
Sure.
which realistically would be read by people who either are in a small business or are thinking about maybe starting a small business.
Sure.
I would figure that might be attractive to a bank or a financial. I mean,
Indeed.
is that an example of where I might be able to charge some
It
premiums
is.
prices?
Yeah, it is, because a lot of times what publishers will do is they'll charge one price for every position on the website, and that's really not what you want to do if you want to maximize revenue. And instead you want to use the tools that you have to be able to charge a premium price for areas of the website that are getting considerable traffic.
And also, I mean, if let's say that small business section's not getting as much traffic as the rest of the site because it's not the homepage or it's not dining, that's still a very valuable audience, and therefore I might be able to charge premium pricing, right?
Indeed, just lower traffic doesn't necessarily mean lower price. It really depends on who the reader is that's reading it. But in terms of creating your pricing structure, a lot of it, to the second point, is knowing your market and knowing your competition. I think there's a couple components there. If your competition is already doing it, maybe you shouldn't. Come up with something that's different. But knowing your market doesn't mean that you need to price it exactly the same. But here's a caveat for everybody that's watching the video. A lot of times people will say, well, I'll try to be just a little bit cheaper. That's going to be the price point for me. I don't know that that's necessarily a good way to price your products. I think you want to know, what does the market bear? Okay, what are other people charging? And then what's extra that I bring to the occasion, I bring to the dance? It might be that you're going to promote things more effectively on social media. Maybe you're going to add video to the component. And so don't just price low in an effort to try to attract an advertiser to a particular product.
In summary, what are the action items for the for the publishers and media companies to take away?
Sure. First of all, make sure that your pricing is fair. Don't discount heavily. Don't give things away for free. And make sure your pricing is really focused. Remember, a smaller audience doesn't necessarily mean a lower price. The second piece is really knowing your market, knowing your competition, and just understanding you don't necessarily need to be cheaper to get an ad buy. The third piece is understand selling it backwards. Meet with advertisers, talk with the advertisers in advance of coming up with things, because people are more likely to participate if they're involved in the process. And the fourth is, I really believe in this, visuals, visuals, visuals. You really need to use almost childlike visuals because you're selling something complex. And you've seen it hundreds of times as well. Sometimes media companies just don't make it easy for an advertiser to buy from them. And so I think it's critically important.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining us. And we have one more episode to come in this series where we'll be talking about
The sales process.
the sales process. So join us soon for that, and see you soon.